back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back pickle biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Former UFC heavyweight champion Fabrico Werdum was in attendance at UFC 220 in Boston for Stipe Miocic vs. Francis Ngannou, and for good reason considering he's the #1 contender in the UFC's heavyweight division, and he was likely to fight the winner of this fight. Now there's still some politics, of course, that come into play for Fabrico Werdum, and one of those being when is Cain Velasquez coming back. Because I think we're all under the impression that as soon as Cain Velasquez comes back, he's going to get an immediate title shot. But barring Cain Velasquez's return in early April or May, specifically maybe UFC 224 in Brazil, Fabrico Werdum would be the #1 contender fighting Stipe Miocic next, because he's on a 2-fight winning streak, very impressive fashion, both of those wins, arguably 3-fight winning streak considering his Alistair Overeem performance, where it was a split decision, and a lot of people felt like Fabrico Werdum might have done enough, especially in the 3rd round, to get his hand raised, but he didn't get his hand raised. But still, his only loss, if you don't count even if you count that, his only other loss in the UFC in like the last 10 fights was when he lost his belt to Stipe Miocic. So Fabrico Werdum, legend of the mixed martial arts heavyweight division, and also #1 contender in the UFC currently. But he spoke with the media, and on top of saying that he guarantees he'll be fighting for the title in 2018, whether it's early or late 2018, that is his plans. He also spoke on the potential of a Cris Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes super fight that's looking like it's really going to happen. There's no more denying it from Cris Cyborg, and now we're in the be careful what you wish for stages. Amanda Nunes was campaigning for this fight even when Cris Cyborg was trying to say, listen, I don't want to fight a former Brazilian. I want to fight a legit featherweight. I want a money fight. Cris Cyborg was giving Amanda Nunes every reason to back down from this fight with, Cris Cyborg, and not even just back down, but Amanda Nunes was persistent, her coach was persistent, Dana White was persistent, and now it's looking like Cris Cyborg is on board. And on her Instagram and social media lately, she's been posting pictures of Cris. This picture you see on the left of the screen was actually from her Instagram, and she put the super fight, so it's looking like this might be the super fight for UFC 224. And I also saw that an idea, I'm not sure if Tyron Woodley will be ready by UFC 224. I think Fabrico Werdum versus Stipe Miocic is a likely option for UFC 224 if we were looking for another big title fight, especially with the Brazilian. But one other option, we know there's a top contender in the welterweight division, Rafael dos Anjos. Now maybe Tyron Woodley will be ready to fight by UFC 224, and he would like to go over to Brazil and defend his title versus RDA. I think that'd be a great idea. But if Tyron Woodley's not healed up from his shoulder surgery by UFC 224, then we could have maybe Fabrico versus Stipe if Stipe wants to go back to Brazil, because the thing about that is, I believe Stipe Miocic went to Brazil to win the title from Fabrico Werdum. So if they fought again, I don't know if the rematch would make sense to be in Brazil if the first fight happened in Brazil, but I'm sure Stipe would be down. But he spoke on the fight with Cris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes, and he said that he believes Cris Cyborg would kill Amanda Nunes, and I think a lot of people believe that, even though I'm not so sure. I think this is going to be a great fight, and I for sure would pick Cris Cyborg if the fight were tomorrow. I just think Amanda Nunes is a lot better than a lot of people give her credit for, and she's also the most skilled fighter. And when I say most skilled, she's the best fighter that Cris Cyborg has ever fought, probably the most experienced and the highest caliber. She's a UFC champion. Now, Holly Holm was a former UFC champion, and she also fought for the 145-pound title, but Amanda Nunes has really been dominating chicks. Another dope thing about this Cyborg versus Nunes fight is, and when I say dominating chicks, she didn't really dominate Valentina Shevchenko, but she's still a dominant champion, and she did beat Valentina Shevchenko, who's a world-class fighter. But when it came to Ronda Rousey and, Smart, that was a dominant fight. But one thing about this fight, another thing that I love about this Cyborg versus Nunes fight, is if Cris Cyborg beats Amanda Nunes at 145 pounds, she'll have wins over Nunes and Holm, both the girls that Ronda Rousey lost to, and everybody always wanted to see Ronda Rousey versus Cyborg. That was always the fight everyone talked about. Now Ronda Rousey's doing her Thug Thizzle in the WWE, so we might not ever see that unless it's in the WWE. But as far as mixed martial arts is concerned, if Cris Cyborg gets a win over both of the girls that beat Ronda Rousey, I think that pretty much puts that argument to rest as far as what would happen versus Ronda Rousey and Cris Cyborg, even though I don't know if there's too much people that really give Ronda Rousey a chance in that fight anyway. So that's just one other pretty cool little implication with this fight. But as far as the fight itself, I can't wait. UFC 224, it's looking like it's going to happen. Champion versus champion, female bantamweight champion, female featherweight champion. And this is a win-win for Amanda Nunes, to be honest. If she wins the fight, she becomes the greatest female fighter of all time, the champ of the female division. And, you know, there's no denying Amanda Nunes, whether from here on out, superstardom. I think she'll become a superstar with a win over Cris Cyborg. And if she loses, it's like she doesn't lose her belt, and she lost to Cris Cyborg, so she still gets respect for being willing and asking for the fight. So win-win for Amanda Nunes. There's also, it's not even a Cris Cyborg's, you know, if she wins, it still means something. So crazy fight, dope fight, and Fabrico Werdum is giving his opinion on the fight. So let the full-time family know what you think about this in the comments. One quick thing before I get out of here is you have to keep in mind Fabrico Werdum is a little bit biased. You know, for one, him and Cris Cyborg are really good friends, and also he's more of a countryman as far as, you know, a Brazilian native. Now, of course, Amanda Nunes is Brazilian as well, but she's, you know, she lives now in the USA, and she's like represents USA and Brazil, as to where Fabrico and Cris Cyborg are more just straight, you know, repping Brazil, and they're really good friends. So he's a little biased, but he did say that he believes Cris Cyborg would kill Amanda Nunes, the Criante, well, no, that was her coach, I'm sorry. Cris Cyborg said that Amanda Nunes' coach was a Criante. You know, they had the I think this is going to be a fucking big fight, bro, and for Brazil, but we do need one more big fight on the card. So with that being said, let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.
Bye, Felicia.